I don't know why Dungeons and Dragons has so many ban-happy people. I mean, everywhere on the internet's pretty ban-happy, but it seems especially on Dungeons and Dragons forums. So I cannot exercise these ideas on any D&D forum. I would have to kind of make it, you know, either independently or on some other site like a Facebook group or something, which is not a great place to play D&D. I cannot for the life of me fathom why it is a game that is based off imagination and, you know, intertwining mathematics with story and all about art and, you know, creativity would have people that love to ban and suppress opinion. That makes no sense. But then again, what about the internet does? What about the internet, which is supposed to be freedom of information and, you know, a series of tubes where, you know, everyone can interact and socialize and share whatever they know, has any kind of banning whatsoever. So, oh well, I cannot make sense out of that. But what I want to talk about is how I came up with a nice D&D game idea that might make a good video game as well. However, some things would have to obviously change because I'm sure those fuckers at Wizards of the Coast own some sort of copyright over certain types of, you know, names and different things, so I would have to change that around. But basically, I would love to make a game where you play as a dragon. Rather than, you know, I mean, obviously it's called Dungeons and Dragons, but often you don't think of the dragons as the hero. But bear with me here. You're a dragon, and you don't level up for fighting everybody and just, you know, being a dick. You level up by implementing your ideals. The more you live up to what it is that defines your dragon type, the more you become more powerful. Like, let's say a red dragon is chaotic evil. Well, what does chaotic evil mean exactly? You need to understand the tenets of chaotic evil. So, like clerics in D&D, I would make domain types based off what a red dragon should be. If a red dragon is supposed to be, say, be a thug and supposed to intimidate people and, you know, exert his force upon others, then, yeah, maybe by just randomly killing monsters he might be chaotic evil, but he won't get very far that way. That's haphazard. So, if he wants to really live up to being a red dragon, he will have to make people afraid of him. He will have to, you know, be worshipped, and it be based off fear and intimidation, and he will have to be revered rather than simply just kill everybody. Because nobody's not going to know who he is if he just makes everybody dead. So I'm kind of, my words are a little jumbled up here. I'm a little tired, but basically, I'm suggesting that there should be a game where you're the dragon and you mingle with humanity as a human. Like, you look human on the outside, but you're a dragon and you're trying to implement your ideals to ascend into a greater state of being. You don't want to be just this weak, piddly dragon for the rest of your life, obviously. So, you take this opportunity to, you know, try to change people's lives and try to change the political spectrum and everything so that you level up as a dragon entity. And soon, you will be a powerful enough dragon that you will exemplify everything about Dungeons and Dragons, where there's these like Dragon King overlords that are all powerful and, you know, they control legions of armies and shit. You're not there yet. You're a newbie. You're like this little tiny dragon that can shapeshift into animals and people if it can further your goals. Your hope is that you can implement your domains in the way that will help you grow as a dragon entity. And this does not necessarily mean it has to be good or evil. It just has to have a major functioning principle behind it. Obviously, I'm implementing my own religious dogma in subtly, of course. I'm not trying to pressure you into anything because there's no point. You know, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm implementing my goals simply by telling you what those goals are. It might, you know, because one of my goals is obviously not to be fucking banned everywhere, for the freedom of information to run rampant. So, you know, maybe by admitting to that, it might help that goal, but who's to say? You know, I can't tell the future, I can't foresee how people are going to react, or anything like that. And that's what should be implemented in the game. that as a dragon, you try to level up, you try to implement your ideals, but it doesn't mean it'll work. And killing people is not going to earn you experience points. That's not going to make you evolve and develop as a spiritual being. So I think that would make a good campaign idea. I think that would make an even better video game. Might be a little hard for a video game because it's a little in-depth. And, it's very hard to implement story-based ideas into a video game. There might be like a RPG like Mass Effect where you have the Renegade and Paragon options, but if you're a certain dragon type, you obviously know what you're gonna pick. So there's no point to deter from that other than maybe you want to see a different ending. And that would have a conflict of interest of mechanical versus story-based differences. And that's the problem with a lot of these games to begin with, where alignment puts you in this straitjacket of what you like. If you're a paladin and you pull a bitch move, then you lose your paladin abilities. It shouldn't be that way. So I would try to do this as a tabletop, and I would not necessarily punish them for, being lawful good when they're supposed to be chaotic evil, but in that they won't grow. So there is no being punished, you just don't get rewarded. Which some might argue is the same thing, but I would just try to encourage people to explore those ideas and those virtues. I think that was, that's what role-playing was originally about. It was a psychology tool, but everyone nowadays is just using it as a means to play a fucking trading card game or to bully other players into acting the way they want them to run these stupid forums where it's a goddamn circle jerk. There's another reason why I want to do this too. Not only because I think it's a good way to explore, morality and religion and yourself, but not only is this good soul searching, but it has a very subtle theme to it. You're a dragon, you're pretending to be a human to implement spiritual ideals. You're not necessarily in control, but if you were a powerful dragon, you would be in control, and you desire control. So, if you're any of you David Icke or other conspiracy theorists out there, I think you'll get where I'm going with this. See ya.